You ever wondered why people have this insatiable desire to get somebody back for something that they feel was done to them? They have to implement some crazy form of revenge because they were wronged so badly. They were so disrespected that now it's like they have to take somebody's life away just because they feel they have to uphold something that doesn't even exist. I'm telling you the third step of problem behavior today. The third step of problem behavior, which is revenge. Why is this such a thing? Why do we even have to go through this? I'm going to explain. But I'm telling you that it starts based on inferiority. It starts based on how you think about yourself and why you think about yourself in the ways that you aren't qualified, you aren't accepted. And this stems from, like I said last week, the first two problem behaviors, which is seeking attention and power struggle. When those two fail, the only thing that you can do now is you can retaliate, and you can now instill revenge upon the person who ignored you and the person who you lost the power to. Now you got to get their ass back. It's just a string of bad behavior. And it all starts, like I said, with inferiority. So let me explain to you all, and this is coming from my own book that I've constructed for people to understand orgasmic power. The concept of orgasmic power is that you have an energy of the orgasm. I got this from Wilhelm Reich. He understood that everyone is in this field of space. Obviously, it's a field, it's a matrix. You don't have to escape it. All you gotta do is understand it and you navigate your way through it. But the issue with this field is that it's powered by this energy called the orgasm. What this is, if you think of orgasmic power, it's the ability for you to surrender to the climax of a sexual act. But think of any act of creation, because sexual energy is creation. Therefore, anything that you do is based on creation. So at every moment, you can have an orgasm. Not in the physical sense of you laying in bed on your back or whatever. It's not that. It's you being able to immerse yourself in the experience that you're going through and surrender yourself in the experience that you are with at this moment in time, in point in space. You have to be able to surrender. That's why women don't have the orgasms that they would like to have, and they blame their partners for it. It's not their partner's fault. It's mainly their inability to surrender to the moment. Same thing with the men. So you have these two energies. One is called orgastic potency, which is, like I mentioned before, the ability to surrender to the climax of the sexual act. And then you have sexual potency, which is actually your ability to engage and perform the sexual act itself. So one, think about this in terms of your 7 chakras, 9 energy centers. Your root, which is the first chakra, has 3 sections. At your ankles, at your knees, then at your genitals, perineum, close to your head. When you don't have the flow of energy coming from the base, bringing all the way down from groundedness, all the way up, you already have the obstruction. Once you don't have the groundedness, you are now start looking around, and that's where the first problem behavior comes up, talking about seeking attention. When this happens, mainly because of, like I just said, the inability for you to surrender. You then start seeking attention from something. You lock in on something and say, I need that validation. When you don't get that, you then get mad. Leads to a power struggle. That can be an argument, that can be a fight, whatever it is, you're trying to get yourself back to a feeling of superiority. And then if both of those don't work, you get into where we are right now, which is going to be in revenge. So let me explain this in a different context where you can get the base. I studied Adlerian psychology. Alfred Adler said all problems are interpersonal relationship problems. What that stems from is that every difficulty a person carries, from anxiety to rage, from addictions to workaholism, ultimately they express themselves in our relationships. So it's nothing else. If there was no people on the planet except for you, you have no problem. You probably try to make up a fight with a tree. You probably try to make up a fight with an animal, but you have no problem because there'd be no person on this planet for you to get mad at. That's essentially what he's saying. There's nobody else. It's based upon your level of how you think about yourself, because what he said was there's two main forces, and this is how I enforce this entire book, the Alkalign Lifestyle, and how we teach our philosophy. It's based upon two forces that people have. It's the inferiority complex and the superiority complex. What does that mean? The inferiority complex, let's define this first so that you understand this. What this means is you have this feeling, this sense of I'm not enoughness. This feeling, this sense of I'm not enough. This weakness, this smallness, this inadequacy that you hold within yourself all the time. You hold it all the time. You just walk around with it. You exude it. It's like that's what your aura is. That's what your energy is. It's the child's natural starting point in life. Why does that mean? Because every human being begins dependent and vulnerable. We can't do much when we're little. We're tiny. We can't pick up anything. We can't really walk or run or sprint or do anything to fend for ourselves. We begin at this moment in inferiority. But when this goes unresolved, meaning our minds don't catch up with our bodies, this feeling becomes a toxic feeling. And it crystallizes into this withdrawal, this victimhood, this shame. You just carry it. And like I said, you just exude it. Everywhere you go, you just walk around like you're inferior. I'm never going to be enough. I can never have this. You just always sound like this sad person that ain't got no chance in life, that something's always done to you. Somebody's always doing you wrong, something like that. That's what happens. It's because you did not allow for the mind to catch up to the body. You did not prepare it. And this is also based on nutrition, minerals, vitamins, vitality, energy. Consciousness is based on light. That's why we teach you to eat light. We don't teach you to eat animal proteins, or you don't teach you to eat death. You don't eat things that have died. You eat things that come from the ground that the earth provided for you to consume. It did not provide you the animals to consume. They have their own responsibilities here, as do we. So that's one side, the inferiority complex. I want you to think of this like in terms of acidity and alkalinity. Acidity would be the basis of inferiority complex. But then you have the opposite of this, which is the superiority complex. This is the mask that hides inferiority. Instead of facing smallness with courage, what does that mean? Facing your inadequacies with courage, saying I don't know something, so I'm going to learn it. That's based on facing smallness with courage. I don't know it, so I'm going to learn it. And you're looking at your words as a self-fulfilling prophecy. You're saying, my words are a self-fulfilling prophecy, so I speak knowing what I say with time comes true. That means I don't speak anything I don't want to occur. I'm taking a full accountability for my life. I am the creator of my life. I'm taking full accountability of whatever I desire for my life or what I want to get out of my life. The issue with the superiority complex is now the individual overcompensates with arrogance, domination, defiance, control. This person starts talking themselves real big without doing the work to be the person that's impactful as they say they are. They just talk about themselves as the person. They talk about themselves and they speak nothing but arrogance. It's all a facade. It's all a mask. And what happens to these people whenever they do this process of covering themselves because they're covering their inferiorities? What happens is they have a failure to confront the fundamental task of life. What's that task? The task is to take one's place in community. To take one's place in the community with courage, responsibility, and contribution. Imagine it like this. The person who feels inferior on the inside, based on their own beliefs about themselves, creates an artificial self-image that's based upon a lie identity, as Dr. Myron Golden would say. You have a lie identity. You base upon this false sense of superiority, and you're attempting to be accepted by society. That's essentially what's happening to you. So those two forces are responsible for these problem behaviors. And let me show you how. So the first problem behavior, obviously, was notice me, validate me, or I'm going to disappear. That was the first one. You need to notice me. You need to tell me I'm doing a great job. You need to pat me on the head, pat me on the back, give me a high five, celebrate me, celebrate my life, because this adult feels that they can't gain value by being themselves. They cannot belong to anything because they cannot accept who they normally are. That is the first problem. They can't belong by contribution. They'll belong just by being noticed, whether that's good or bad. You see, that's the first problem. But then the second one, right after that comes from I must control something or I will be controlled. That's the second one. And these are problems that extend based upon fear, because superiority complexes are actually stemming from the same thing. So if you look at it from acidity, alkalinity, like I said, acidity would be inferiority, but also superiority, which is masking that, comes from the same thing. Same exact side. It's the same acidic side that you are behaving, the same side, because you're lacking energy. You're lacking something. So think about this when you say, have you ever heard somebody say, I hate this thing, or I hate this person? Or, I mean, look, you don't hate nobody, because you don't hate just because you hate. See, hate's not the absent, like, and here's how I like to express, or I like to define the word hate as not the opposite of anything. Hate's not the opposite of anything. Hate is the absence of something. And what is the absence of something? That something is love. You don't hate just because you hate. You hate because you are not loved by yourself. That's why this whole thing is starting. This whole problem behavior starts. The absence of you loving yourself. So I must control or I will be controlled. And we're talking about this mainly in relationships, because this is for everybody. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're a billionaire, trillionaire. I don't care if you broke on the side of the road. I don't care what it is. It doesn't matter. I'm telling you right now that it's based upon inferiority, superiority. Because once you go from I must control or I'll be controlled, which the cause is when this fails, attention seeking fails, the person shifts to gaining a sense of significance through control, resistance, or dominance. They're trying to shake you into acceptance. It's crazy, but it's real. I'm telling you, it's real. So once those two things don't work, now we're back at what we talked about in the beginning, which is revenge. So here's how this problem works. Revenge says, I was wronged. I was wronged, so I must make other people suffer. Number one, number two did not work. Attention didn't work. Power struggle was denied. Now the person feels rejected and hurt. Now they feel like they're rejected. Look at stalkers all the time, chasing people around, trying to take pictures, trying to get somebody to to love them, essentially. People are crazy because they're seeking their attention. Nobody's giving it to them. They're thinking that to have a power struggle, they can fight their way through it. Ain't working. Then all of a sudden, they feel rejected and hurt. Now, in order to regain a sense of worth, by retaliation, they're going to inflict the same pain that they felt emotionally, literally, internally. They're going to attempt to inflict the same pain that they feel to the other person. That's where this is stemming from. That's what the cause of revenge is. That's what you see with wars and all this ridiculousness that you have. It's pettiness. You see, you cannot fight war with peace. You cannot fight peace with war. But people think that that's how it's supposed to work. People think that it has to be the opposite of everything. The internal opposites. We have to keep on focusing on the opposites, but that's not how it works. That's not how it works. Okay? Once you go through these processes, you have these new effects, and these effects are awful. Why? Because what do these effects do? These effects of revenge, what they do is they're now going to cause hostility and resentment. This is what breeds hostility and resentment in relationships. Cycle of hurt creates distance, bitterness, or severing of relationships. You're now in this revenge place, thinking you gotta hurt and harm somebody for whatever reason because you don't feel good on the inside. And then you say, I'll belong by making other people feel the pain I feel. So what does this actually do? You have cycles and patterns of hostility. Relationships are now poisoned by resentment and retaliation. You don't have mutual care anymore. Now, all of a sudden, that disappears. It's replaced by emotional distance or by open conflict. I don't care if you're in business. I don't care if you're a CEO, you have a company, you have employees. Now, what I've noticed about these mistaken goals, these problem behaviors, is that they're a lot more common than people think. Think about people who have these divorce proceedings and they go to court. What is court? Court is revenge. Court is literally, it's in the stage of power struggle and then revenge. Because whoever wins or loses the case is going to go for revenge. That's why people have these problems. Think about, okay, I'll give you a modern time, a modern day example. I think they have, right now there's a trial going on with Cardi B and her partner, Offset, the rapper. So he's demanding divorce, paper signed, and spousal support and all this stuff. Well, he's probably in a stage right now of revenge, causing revenge, because he's probably already gotten they've probably already gotten to seeking attention. They didn't get that. Power struggle, internal, again, didn't get that. He must have lost that battle because obviously she's with somebody else. And then now he's at the stage of revenge. He's going to inflict as much pain as he possibly can. So I can't hurt you emotionally because you're with somebody else, but I can hurt you, maybe I can hurt your pockets financially or something. But all of this stems from the fact that he did not pay attention to himself. Same thing with her. Both of them. And they, instead of growing together, they grew separate. They grew apart because they're in the stages of resentment. Their relationship is now poisoned by resentment and retaliation. So if you're going through it with your baby mama, your baby daddy, whatever you want to call it, there's people who have all types of issues. The people have 3, 4, 5 partners and all this stuff. It becomes a battlefield. And that's because complexes and mistaken goals cannot exist by themselves. They can only exist in interpersonal relationships. And this is where our unresolved feelings and distorted aims collide with the needs of other people. Collide, meaning they clash. So you can call it the steps of problem behavior. You can call it the steps of crash out behavior. That's like the modern term, crash out. But it's essentially when you just start doing stupid things, start acting bad, you start behaving badly on purpose. This is why you're doing it. So there's dynamics that play out And you'll see that I think this is probably the most common. So if you understand Carl Jung was also a psychologist. Essentially, he was a philosopher, and he taught about the shadows in a person's psyche, and also the characters that they play and assign the roles to. The characters that he named, he always explains it in terms of like a dynamic. And so he'll say this is one side, and you have an opposite side, like an oppressor and a slave type of thing. He has these three main ones that I basically singled out. First one is called the tyrant rebel dynamic that emerges when one partner, driven by a superiority complex, here we go, which is the mask of inferiority, demands control, while the other, driven by hidden inferiority, they're both hiding. Okay, they're both masking. The one driven by hidden inferiority resists all authority. That's why it's a tyrant and a rebel. Because the tyrant is weak on the inside. But then the rebel is also weak on the inside. And they're showing it in two different dynamics, but it's the same thing. Okay? Then you have the judge and the victim. The judge-victim loop unfolds when criticism fuels helplessness, which in turn provokes more judgment. Now, listen to these and how these work, because what I want you to understand is that all these things are actually fully avoidable, but there'll be one word specifically that's going to dissolve all of these. There's the last one, which is the hero saboteur dance. He says it plays out in workplaces. So think of it as you're a CEO, or if you're an entrepreneur, business owner, startup, a founder. When one overfunctions to rescue while the other undermines in secret. So essentially, there's someone who always has to come in to save the day, and they're not allowing you to be the person to do it or to fix the problem, but you're actually the one that's sabotaging it in the first place. Now, every high performer knows all these patterns. Every CEO who is untrustworthy of their team. You have athletes, professional athletes. They sabotage their training after criticism. You'll see it in news, people on ESPN, all this stuff. It's like this whole dynamic where they mess themselves up on purpose just because they got criticism from whomever. Then you have the creator, content creator. They seek attention while fearing exposure. They're doing everything they can to get attention, but they still fear exposure. These are not random flaws. These are all systematic expressions of mistaken goals. They're born from complexes. Okay? So let's really get into the main part of this revenge. Now, again, these are based on chakras. So the root is your attention seeking. The sacral is your power struggle. But at the revenge level is your solar plexus. So the plexus, which is the mistaken goal, again, if I hurt, I belong. Because you have got to make someone hurt in order to belong. Yeah, it's like being cool. It's like being initiated to a gang. You got to go shoot somebody up off the block, or rob somebody, or do a home invasion or stuff just so you can get accepted into the group. It's crazy, but this stuff is real. The elements here in the solar plexus and this revenge problem behavior is your will, your digestion, your energy. See, your gut is off. Your gut is off, and that's one of the main things that's making you do this. So you have these passive aggressive behaviors, perfectionism as a behavior, and you have anger as control. It's crazy. What you do, this is literally what happens. And so now, what are the food disturbances that come from this? The food disturbances that cause this, because I believe these are always the causes, is the mineral, the content of the food, what you're consuming, what you're watching, what you're thinking, what you're putting into your body, into your mind is going to be the cause. The food disturbances are excess caffeine. That's first. Excess caffeine. Refined carbs is second. See, when you have simple carbs, which again, we're biologically plant-based here in the Alkalign Lifestyle, so we don't do all the processed things that people see are so great. You don't need to process all these things. Whole, raw, plant-based diet is excessively great. It's the best thing on the market for you to eat right now. But you have this shame-driven volatility. And so it creates this digestive chaos. What does caffeine do? Caffeine is an adenosine blocker. Adenosine is basically what tells you that you're tired. You accumulate adenosine all throughout your conscious beta behavior throughout your entire day. It's piling up inside your brain, inside your body, adenosine. And what you do is at the end of the day, by 8, 9 p.m., you have accumulated this adenosine. This is what's telling you that your circadian clock is on point. This is about the time where you need to start to unwind and relax and go to sleep. When you have caffeine, it blocks this ability for you to know that you are in sync with the earth. So you're supposed to make your own energy. Or if you have a problem with energy in the morning time, you don't get up in the morning and drink coffee or drink tea. You get up in the morning, you drink some water, maybe some cucumber water, some lemon water, something warm, or maybe some herbal tea. But you do not need to fake stimulate yourself with caffeine, because what happens is you've now blocked the ability to create ATP. A is adenosine triphosphate. So the A in ATP, again, is adenosine. When you block your ability to create that, you are now masking your energy. So you're faking it. What you do to change this, just change what you're eating. Change what you're eating. Get rid of the caffeine. Go for something like yellow peppers, something like ginger, turmeric, bitter greens, because you want to cleanse the liver, the pancreas. This is the area of solar plexus. And your behavioral impact, you see, here's what happens. When you eat the wrong foods, you become reactive, you become vengeful. But when you eat the right foods, you become powerful and decisive. There is a relational effect on this, okay? You have clean boundaries. Replace hostility with respect. That's what grows, okay? That's what happens based upon food. Now, let's go even. Lastly, we're going to focus solely on the chakra and the behaviors and the somatic profiles, because you're going to be able to see this. Now, whenever you have I'll say excess and defiant, deficiency-laced gut, you'll experience like knots, you'll experience ulcers, autoimmune flare-ups, and this is how the chemistry is working. These autoimmune flares are not working. These autoimmune flares come also these adrenaline spikes, because that's what, if you're taking in too much caffeine, you're creating this environment inside your mind that's making you go from fight or flight to rest and digest. But you can't hold rest and digest. You keep on fluctuating, and you stay mainly on fight or flight. And that's where you keep on having these adrenaline spikes. I'll give you an example, because I write down examples for people to think. Like, so if you ever heard the story of a billionaire acquiring a rival company purely for spite, just doing it because he felt like doing it, because he felt like he was right. I'm pretty sure we have a couple I can name right now. Or you might see an athlete that sabotages his team on purpose to teach his team a lesson. I remember I was watching, I think it was a highlight show. They're talking about Kobe, and I love Kobe. On the basketball court, Kobe. I don't care if you're Kobe on the off the basketball court, but on the basketball court, I think he's amazing. I think people who will themselves to do excellent things are, phenomenal. But in this case, you're talking about 2006, I believe it was. They're playing the Phoenix Suns. They were up 3-1 first round of playoffs, and it goes to Game 7. In Game 7, Kobe Bryant basically does not shoot the basketball in the second half of the game. He had just scored 50 points in Game 6. They lost Game 6, but Game 7, he doesn't even take a shot. And what the commentators were saying he was doing was teaching his team a lesson and saying to the front office, I need more help. These guys aren't as good as they need to be for me to get over the hump, to get a championship, which essentially he did admit to year after. I think it was Charles Barkley who was the commentator who talked about this, but it happens. Here, let me show you how inferior you guys are. Let me show you how weak you guys are. Let me show you how uncommitted or whatever it is. I'm going to show y'all. And that's why it doesn't do anything except lower the morale of your team in the first place. They know they're not that good. They already know they're not good enough. They're not good enough. So rather than you putting them over the edge, you lower yourself down just to prove a point. Now, you can even have a man or a woman who breaks up a harmonious relationship. It happens all the time. I did it when I was younger. Just because of my insecurity and my trust issues with myself. It had nothing to do with the person on the outside. It was with myself. You'll see somebody come to you and say, it's not you. It's just me. It is just them. Believe it when they say it. It is them. And you should probably distance yourself from that person. Do not beg for that person to want you or to desire you, because they don't desire themselves. They don't want themselves. Let them leave. You gotta let them go. I'm telling y'all from experience. I did this multiple times. And really, it's just because I didn't know myself fully. So I did not want somebody to take that plunge or to take that journey or adventure with me, because what was I going to do? Hold them hostage? I'm not trying to hold anybody hostage. I'm not trying to do that. That's just because I was just a better person. I understood that about myself. So this is why revenge fails, and why I'm gonna end off with this, and I'll give you some solutions to avoid these things. But why revenge fails? When you consider acting in a revengeful way towards another person, revenge punishes the self more than the target. It punishes you more than the person you are attempting to hurt. It destroys trust, and it corrodes achievement. It just dissolves it instantly. It's like you have no achievement. You have nothing. You're just jumping off of the ladder that you've been working so hard to climb up the hill. You're purposely doing it. Rather than listening to the inner voice of reason, and everybody has an inner voice of reason, which is the divine. Whenever you become coherent, that's the voice of reason that says you can apologize, or you should do this thing to fix this problem. What people do is let the outside world dictate your behavior and attempt to get back things you should have wisely let go in the first place. Okay? To get what you truly desire. You let the outside say, you gonna let them talk to you like that? You gonna let them play you like that? You gonna let her walk off on you like that? You gonna let them take everything like that? You gonna let them they just disrespected you, just called you out. It's like these voices coming up here. That's the outside world. Nothing to do with the inside. The inside is not saying to do any of that. The outside saying that. Oh, you just a little bitch. You gonna let somebody talk you crazy like that? Oh man, you ain't shit. Oh man, you a punk. Oh man, That's what happens. Most people can't even get past their own ego that they're masking, the inferiority that they're masking. I'm telling you, you got some really weak thugs. My trainer, Locks, well, my friend ain't my trainer, but he's like my OG, like my mentor. And Locks always tells me, he's like, man, you go on a train right now, you find one gang member. If he by himself, he probably ain't gonna say nothing to you. But if he with 10, 20 deep, they gonna act like they own the train. And I thought about that, and I was like, he right. Because when you catch them, They ain't the fittest now. The thugs, no, not many of them. You'll have some of them, they got some muscles, something on them, but the majority of them, no, they're not fit. They're not sharp like that. They're just not. They can be tatted up and all this. That don't mean nothing. Got nothing to be afraid of. I started to understand that they're listening to the outside world. They're proving their worth by hurting someone. It's crazy. I almost got caught into it. I didn't, thankfully, but I done some wrong things because I was attempting to be accepted. I don't regret them. I just learned from them. It's just focus on coherence so you can hear the inner voice that tells you the right things to do, because you don't have to try to get things back that really don't matter. Let those things go and never wish for another intentional hurt and pain. Never wish on another intentional hurt and pain. You're only wishing that for yourself, because listen, if you haven't paid attention yet or come to the realization that your life is a mirror, it's a mirror. That's how this thing works. And it doesn't change. It just works in that way. Just focus on the golden rule perspective, meaning you are going to get back out of life what you're putting out. And if you're putting out something that's corrupt, I guarantee you're going to get back to something that's corrupt. And that's just it. That's what happens. So that's why revenge fails. Okay? That's why it fails. Now, here are some things that you can do. These solution systems that I create for people. In my book, Orgasmic Power, you will see there are sections talk about own personal stories, but also they talk about things that you can do today, right now, to change these problem behaviors for yourself. And first off, the first solution system action that you can take, you can redirect your energy from seeking revenge on another person to service to another person. Take that energy that you're saying, I'm going to hurt and harm someone else, to now say, how can I serve someone else? What can I do to serve someone else today and make someone else better? Because you are connected to everyone around you in this ocean of energy. If you build somebody else up, somebody comes to build you up. In the case of armoring, because I talk about this too in my book. If you don't understand what armoring is, it is contraction, it is tension. When you hold tense, when you hold contracted, it's called armoring. You are protecting yourself from something internal that you deem as a threat. And so you need to release your diaphragm armor through sound and through laughter. That's what you need to do. Go find a comedy show. Go find something that just brings some joy, makes you laugh, just makes you feel good. And you're releasing your diaphragm because you should be breathing from your diaphragm. You shouldn't be breathing from your upper chest, panting. You should be breathing from your diaphragm, full breath, expanding all the way through here. Okay? And then what happens is then the next solution is you replace your resentful attitude with gratitude. You visualize it. What you already possess in your life is quality. It's quality. It's yours. It's here for a purpose. It's here for a reason. It's here to help you. What you understand is not everybody has everything. You can get more things, but you got to be grateful for what you already have and make use of those things 100%. Do that first, and then watch yourself jump quickly. I mean quickly. You will go as quick as possible if you start to learn that gratitude does mean it's already done, because you're providing the feeling, and feeling is the prayer. Feeling is the secret of prayer. When you're praying to the divine, to the creator, it's answering you based on what you feel. The energy that you're sending out is coming through your feelings and your emotion. Forgiveness does what? This is the next solution. Forgiveness changes your blood chemistry. This is a natural way to alkalize your blood. It goes from acid to alkaline just based upon the emotions of forgiveness. What does forgiveness do? It releases you. It literally releases you from the hold that you have placed upon yourself. And you do this by forgiving yourself first. So you're first. Forgive yourself first. Always forgive yourself first. And then you forgive the other person. Okay, that's how it works. Lastly, you eat more yellow foods. Eat more yellow foods. This is done by color. The first problem behavior, which is the root chakra, attention seeking, the root chakra is red. The second problem behavior, power struggle, is the sacral. The sacral is orange. The third problem behavior, which is revenge, is the solar plexus, which is yellow. So what you do is you are basing it off of chakras. You're basing it off of energy wheels. And so you eat more yellow foods, go outside, get some natural vitamin D, some sunlight, and you train with core exercises. Listen, I know this sounds like really elementary, but the best core exercise that you can do is a sit-up. Every morning when you get up in the morning, you shouldn't roll out of bed. You should be able to sit right up because you have this area here, your core. If you're struggling with doing a sit-up, get a band of any kind, and you can do what's called a hip flexor pull. So you can just lift, just get a simple band, and you can just lift this band, it can be a small band, step on it with your opposite foot, take your working leg and just lift. You can sit on the chair and do it. And you're just here to do a hip flexor pull. Okay? What I'm going to tell you to end this is that revenge burns the vessel that carries it. Revenge burns the vessel that carries it. The vessel is your body because you're the one that's carrying revenge. So revenge burns the vessel that carries it. It'll burn it right up. What restores the power in that vessel is gratitude. So before you look at your partner with hate, disdain, resentment, look at them first and say, I am grateful in some way, shape, or form for what you've provided for me, for what you've brought for me, for our seasons together. And if you want something different, good. I'm glad. And I'm happy to be right here with you, alongside it. I'm not going to force anything. Let the person do what they do. No need to manipulate anybody. No need to make somebody think the way you want to think. Just let them do what they're going to do. I'm telling you, just shift your perspective to everything is a gift. Life is a gift. Don't make this some awful experience. It's not supposed to be an awful experience. It's supposed to be an easy experience. An easy experience that you welcome. And that's the basis of why you do not participate in revenge behavior. So if you guys are looking for, again, a one-on-one coaching program, cleanse all 7 of your chakras, I do offer a VIP coaching program. You guys can apply to work with me on click a link below in my description to apply to work with me. Also, I have 3 main herbal detoxifications for your cells. One for your lymphatic system, which is replenish. One for your lymphatic system, which is awaken. And I have one for complete transformation, which is platinum. All 3 of them are powerful. You can't access platinum unless you do the first 2. So you'll get there. Okay, but if you're looking also for a VIP retreat experience, we keep 10 slots in each one of our retreat experiences. We offer 4 times a year. So our next one, which will be in 4th quarter, coming up just after November, first week essentially of December 2025. We're planning this one to be in Ojai. It's going to be Ojai, California. So if you're out here in West LA, or you want to come out here to West LA, and you want to come to have a elite detoxification and essentially subconsciously reprogramming experience, come out. And again, you can apply to work with us, and I mean, we'd love to have you. And lastly, at the end of this month, I'm offering my Become Alkalign Challenge, which is 2 hours a day, October 27th through 31st, 2 hours a day. You'll be teaching just like you get, just like this. You'll have research, you'll have homework assignments, you'll have all the different things that you need to experience to shape your mind in a different way to get you to change your lifestyle and allow you to teach other people generational health. That's what I believe is going to be the new wave, generational health over generational wealth, because that is generational wealth, is your health. Your health is your wealth. And this is how I'm teaching this, because I would like for people to understand that when you're healthy, you can do anything. When you have energy, you can do anything. So just giving you the keys for you to accept yourself, acknowledge yourself, and to be yourself. That's the key. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Like, share, and subscribe. See you guys in the next one. Peace.